What's up? I hope you're well. And today I want to talk about my experience and what I've learned over the past few weeks with Stretch Lab, which is assisted stretching. Now, if you haven't seen my first video, go and check it out. I talk about why I'm doing this. And long story short, as a martial artist, as a fighter, I want to improve my longevity. I want to improve my performance and my overall mobility. Okay, it's so important that you're mobile. You want to keep that mobility. If you've got mobility, and if you don't have mobility, you want to work on it so that you've got it through your whole life. Now, this is something that degrades over time, especially if you don't use it. So use it so you don't lose it. Now, basically, in my first video, I talked about my first experience with Stretch Lab. My second experience was about 10 days ago. I turned up, I booked in with a therapist named Isaac, and lovely guy. Basically, he took me through some stretches for an hour, standard process. Maybe he did a few extra stretches along the way, and he went a little bit harder in places because I asked him to, particularly my legs and my ankles because of my Achilles, and I'm glad I did. Now, the process, again, most of the stretches he takes you through, so it's fairly passive. And I just find the whole thing fairly relaxing as well along the way. Now, I left feeling good, feeling switched on, and basically over the next few days, experienced a few things. I'll tell you about them. The strain. I mentioned strain on my first session. Now, second session, definitely there was a strain. This one was in the middle of my back, and it was pretty bad. Like, there was times where I was like sitting like this and then getting up and be like, like far out, man. And I think that's just physiological guarding, and I've been throwing that around a lot lately. That phrase, physiological guarding, and yeah, basically, I think my body's just trying to protect itself through this extra range that it's gotten. But it's gone away, and it took about 3 days, but something connected to it was that I bought a new bed. I bought myself a koala bed mattress and some pillows. Woo! Finally, my bed was 100 years old, and I found that the first night of sleep, my back was pretty much almost 90% better, and the second night, fixed. So I'm sure that the strainy feeling is quite normal in the process, but it could also be associated with the bed and alignment of posture and so on. So that helped correct it. That said, I think that you should expect there to be a little bit of strain through the process. And if you're not, like if you're a bit worried about that stuff, you might need to just ask to go a little bit lighter initially. Okay, that's probably what's going to help you. But I think that when you're healing and recovering yourself, that you typically do feel pain along the way. And that takes me to my neck. My neck has been playing up. I think I mentioned that on the first video. Now, my neck is pretty tight, and I think my muscles in my neck and shoulders have really tightened up. The therapist said, wow, they're so tight. Probably to protect myself because, I throw a lot of fast, powerful strikes, and it can be jarring for the neck. You need a very strong neck. So yeah, you can definitely improve that with weights and stuff. But anyway, I found that I'm getting pains through this because it's just loosening up. But those pains really only lasted a few days, and they seem a bit better now. And I'm expecting that will be the case along the way. I'm not going to try to avoid the pain through the process. I mean, obviously, I don't want the pain. But if I find pain through the process, it's a learning experience, and there's something there that I can improve in that whole way. Now, overall kicking, definitely my kicking and roundhouse kick mobility is better. Roundhouse kicks up probably about this much, even when cold, and cross blocking. Cross blocking I can normally do. It's where you put your shin across someone, you turn this way, you put your shin across their hips or thigh. But there's this move where you do a roundhouse kick and then turn it into a cross block. And I always had issues with that, and we were doing it the other day. And after a warm up, I was surprised to just be like, boom, straight there. without any pain in my knees, and my hips felt looser, but I think it was more so the knees. Okay, I've noticed my knees are a bit more mobile. I'm able to do basic things with less tension. And in this case, I was able to do a cross block after the roundhouse kick without any issues. So I have noticed that it's crossing over to my performance. It's still very subtle, but it's also very noticeable. Okay, because I'm very in touch with that, and you know, something you couldn't do as well. It's pretty obvious when you can, right? So yeah. Anyway, my second session, I paid 130 bucks. I forgot to mention that. It was a casual session. My first session was a trial session, $79. Second session, $130 casual session. And what happened between the first and second is Lela, the administration person, the manager, she was trying to get me onto the membership, but I didn't really want to get onto the membership. At that point, I'm like, maybe I'll just try it out casually for a bit and see what happens. And I've got to say, she was fine with that. She's not pushy at all. Their whole sales process is very helpful. They're not pushy. And she said, yep, no worries, no problem. Give it a shot. So I went for my second session. And after the second session, she gave me a call and she's like, hey, we got this discount on at the moment. 3 sessions for the price of 2. Would you like to take us up? And I'm like, yep, absolutely. Score, 80 bucks sessions basically. And she also alluded that I'm in that kind of, I've been labeled as someone who's not 100% sure. So she basically alluded that there's going to be more discounts along the way. So I'm like, woohoo, all right, let's go. And yeah, so I paid 130 bucks. She offered me this and it was all good. Come the third week. Okay, so I've done my first week, my second week, and my third week, which is pretty much now, the end of it. And I noticed there was no trainers to be booked at the time that I wanted. So I was kind of like hesitating, and we didn't get the 250 payment happening either. I was just hesitating. And I thought maybe I'll just go to Stretch Labs in Parramatta, but I didn't do that. And I finally decided, hey man, look, why don't I check someone else out? So I found a guy in Borkham Hills, Norwest, next to my old gym, Virgin Active, which is an amazing gym, by the way. And his business name is Natural Balance. And his name is, what did I say his name was again? David Collins. And I went in there and pretty much for an hour, he took me through some stretches. And the stretches, unlike Stretch Lab's more of a passive stretch process where they lay you down on the bench and then they take you through the stretches. In this case, he had me actually doing the stretches, like bearing weight. And there were times where he actually did very similar to Stretch Labs. Maybe not all the same angles, but different stretches, and they were a lot harder. It was a lot more active. There was a fair bit of pain in certain stretches. It's that kind of stuff that you know you should be doing at home, but you just won't do. And that's one of the reasons why I'm there. And funny enough, he has the same problem. I think a lot of people have the same problem stretching, despite even doing it for a living, hey. But yeah, I just found it was more active, more about me bearing my own weight and getting into positions, and he was teaching me stuff. And we were talking about VO2 max and aerobic base and athletic performance and different things. And I really enjoyed that because, you know, he's a bit more mature, has got life experience, and he was able to help me. So that's where it ended up. And actually, I feel pretty good after that session as well, except I didn't feel as relaxed. Actually, the next day I felt like I'd just been smashed, like I'd just done a hardcore workout. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I've basically come to the conclusion that Stretch Lab is passive. You know, it's a bit of relaxation as well. And on this side with Natural Balance, the more active stretches, they're a bit more stressful. It's more intensity, more training units. It's a lot more hard. Now, where I'm at now is I want to continue this experiment. I want to basically be able to give you more information and and see the result. Now I'm on a new phase where I'm focusing on functionality and general physical preparation. So I felt like it would be a good idea for me to spend the next month during this phase continuing with stretch labs and not giving it up. I was thinking maybe I'll just continue going to natural balance because it's cheaper, $70 a session. But then I thought, hey, look, they're actually giving me a discount and the timing works. So I'm actually going to continue to do both. Stretch lab, a little bit more passive, and this guy obviously more active. I'm going to do them both, try and do them twice a week, 1 day each, and see how I go. And I'll look. My process here is I'm trying it. I'm going to just experiment, and I'm going to give you the results and share them with you. And that's it. That's it. Not much more to say. Stick around for the rest of the journey. Thank you very much. Us.